Hi, I'm Sarah O'Connell, and welcome to The Sarah O'Connell Show.
Welcome to The Sarah O'Connell Show.
Hi everyone, in this episode I'll be exploring some of the resources, support groups, charities and events available to trans people. If you live in the UK, you can speak to your GP and ask them to refer you to a gender identity clinic, which can provide people for you to talk to and also give help medically transitioning if that's what's right for you. For events, I highly recommend Trans Pride in Brighton and Sparkle in Manchester. For transgender youth, the charity Mermaids does lots of fantastic work and I highly recommend them. The charity Stonewall also has loads of fantastic resources available online. Of course, that's just scratching the surface, so I've also asked some of my friends which resources, support groups, charities and events they recommend.
I have a couple on this side of the Atlantic. There's something called Triad House that I've done work for, fundraising. I think the key to our surviving all of this craziness in the world is unity. So I think any organization that supports us and wants to help us, including ones we begin on our own, I think once we're united as a group, we wield a lot more power in terms of determining the way governments and people treat us. We need to look to the gay community or to the in my case here, the African American community. Look at what they did and replicate that.
There's a lot of support groups out there, a lot of resources that are available for people. We're so lucky on the internet, I think. After I did my transsexual summer, I wasn't hugely happy with the edit, so my therapy was to set up, to get a camera and to work with Lewis Hancox, who was also on the show, to start making films ourselves about our community. And for me, that was so therapeutic. It felt really wonderful to do that. And I think it was, from what I see, it's kind of a win-win situation as well, because it seems that the people involved who were contributors in front of the camera, they got to kind of see themselves in a new light, and they got to see themselves in a way that other people see them, which is a very positive light. So hopefully that was good too. So I would definitely recommend for people to check out the My Generation. It's an ongoing film project, I guess. We have a YouTube, we've got a Facebook page, we've got Snapchat, and I think next year we're going to set up more kind of panel chats and groups and discussions with people as well, and live YouTube things and what have you. So watch the space. But if you don't see what you're looking for, maybe it's a good opportunity for you to set up something yourself as well. Which is what a lot of us have ended up doing. There's a huge amount of information on Tumblr. It depends what age you are, because if you're a younger person, you might be interested in looking at information on Snapchat, Tumblr, maybe going to gendered intelligence youth groups, or even Mermaids, the national support group. If you're a bit older, there might be forums or secret Facebook groups, or even YouTubers that you might be interested in seeing their journey as well. I don't know about you, Sarah, but when I was first starting my journey, I kept on looking at videos on YouTube and trying to find people that looked a bit like me, or like kind of were I don't know, similar in stature or something. So I guess how they were going to progress, on the testosterone, and I suppose the opposite for you. But it's so exciting, isn't it? 'Cause you can never really tell how you're going to turn out. And
that's it. And I think for me, it was just that I almost equate it to, like if you've been pulling back a catapult your entire life, and something of it. When I made I'm married, so when I had the discussion with my wife, it's like, okay, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to medically transition. I could not do it fast enough. And it was almost like before I had, like, sales at work, and a girl came in and she'd bought just a new coat or something. I'd purposely not even comment on it, just so nobody would notice anything.
Wow.
The second I was like, I'm going for this, then that block in my head just completely lifted, and it was just so freeing and liberating, just to sort of be myself. And the fear was just people finding out before I was ready to. So when that was gone, then I think I told everybody and was like full time within 4 months.
I think you're absolutely right. I think once you kind of open that door, and once you kind of make that first step, you can't transition fast enough in some ways, because it's almost like, I mean, for me, I felt like I was catching up for lost time as well. And it must feel so wonderful to be a young person who's actually supported by their parents. I mean, I'm bringing out a video today actually about Kai, and he's 12 years old now. I've been filming him since he was 9 years old. And he's just such a well-adjusted young individual. I mean, he's a cheeky chappy, and he's really confident, and which is really nice to see. But again, he's got this sensitivity. He's got this understanding about who he is, and he's had to really assess those things as a younger person. And I think that the trans people do have a wonderful gift. We have a great perspective on the world, and I can't wait to see the day when we're more celebrated, actually.
Yeah, I think just when we stop, when people want no longer just want to talk to us about being trans, like when it's basically a non-thing, like it's no more interesting almost in my eye color.
Yeah.
But it's just at the moment we're trying to educate everyone and all that kind of thing. So I'm talking about it as much as I can, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately what we kind of want is just indifference, and we're just like people just get that we are just the same, and we're not a novelty or anything like that, and we're sort of everywhere. And
Exactly, yeah. I want to do myself out of a job. I want all my films to be completely obsolete in a few years' time. I want people to be like, we don't care. Yeah, and I think part of that actually is contributing to the media and doing stuff like, for example, you doing your show and Shock Horror, not just doing trans topics and actually interviewing people about their lives. And yeah, and same for me as well. I'd love to be able to write, a series or something where there happens to be a trans character, but maybe it's about somebody who's a detective, or there's a mystery every episode, or just
and that it's not even like their superpower or anything.
Yeah,
they happen to be trans.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. I would definitely recommend Children's Hospital Los Angeles, the Trans Youth and Development Department. I would definitely recommend St. John's. I would definitely recommend any place that is providing services to trans people is a place that you should donate to.
I don't know many groups or events, to be perfectly honest. I'm aware of Trans Pride in Brighton, which is great for our southeastern friends. I'm not down that way very often. I'm very northern. I divide my time between Scotland and Manchester pretty much. But I have been down to London more often just recently because of Hollyoaks and stuff. But I don't really know. Sparkle is the only one I know of that's really massive. And, I've attended it for a few years just as a visitor to see what was going on. And I've been like, wow, this is amazing. If this had existed when I was 22 or something. Because I first started my treatment when I was 22 years old. And it took me a couple of years before I transitioned because I planned it very carefully. If something like that had existed, it would have just changed my life forever. But where I was living in Aberdeen, it was an extremely difficult place even to be gay. Really difficult place. It's like Kate said, it was a bar above a bar that only opened once a month. So yeah, times are different, but use the internet. Google is your friend. There's so many groups and social events happening these days. There's plenty out there. Seek it out.
Definitely online is a massive thing right now. I would say be careful of that, because as somebody who's had the privilege of, I guess, meeting more the top level of a lot of organizations, sometimes the intentions aren't there, not on purpose. It's just because hurt people do hurt things. And sometimes you're running an organization to support people, but you yourself are still hurt and need support. So I would say definitely, even though you're going to these support groups, it is not the complete 100% answer to everything. You still need to look after yourself. You still need to have, confide in close friends that you've grown up with, for example. You might find that is a much more positive environment that can support your transition, as opposed to finding these groups that may be only funded to tick up certain kind of box. You have to be careful. You might actually walk in there with your mental health even worse. They come out. The thing with online support groups is that it's great because you get to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds, but again, you have to be careful you're not 100% in it, because you're isolating yourself from actual social interaction, which can actually escalate the anxiety of, being comfortable with yourself. So I would say definitely find a balance. We don't, research groups, research online, and mix it up. Have a diverse way of having support. Confide in family members, friends, and then you have total strangers that you can walk up to and and have support groups in that sense. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Come to Sparkle. Go to Sparkle, go to Sparkle, go to Sparkle. It's amazing. In terms of my medical care, gender care, I've been under gender care since the very beginning. They've been amazing. And it's because I went in with confidence and I just said, I'm a trans woman. I would like some trans woman medicine, please. Like, don't let people tell you who you are. Once you know what you are, just seek the appropriate medical intervention or not. A trans person's journey does not have to have medical intervention of any kind. Surgical, medical, it's different for everybody.
That's good. That's a good question. So in the United States, a really great resource for kind of all of your rights issues, all of your civil rights issues as transgender people, I recommend the National Center for Transgender Equality. They're doing amazing work, and they have been for a long time. And I trust nobody with my civil rights more than I trust them. For folks in North America, Trans Lifeline is a suicide prevention hotline run by transgender people for transgender and non-conforming, non-binary, kind of all gender diverse people. So it's a place where if you're having an issue with the world and your gender, you will find someone who knows what you're talking about and will be happy to talk to you. And you don't have to be suicidal to call. If you just need someone to talk to and you don't have that resource where you are, you can call us, and we're a peer support network. I say us because I volunteer for them. So they're great. I want to think of a really great conference that is international. It takes place in the United States, but it's people come from all over the world. It's called Gender Odyssey. And they've got 3 different tracks now. It's a really huge conference for folks who just want to go and get support, but also for people who are trans and have families or have family members who are trans. There's a whole family network support group there. And then there's also a professional track for people who are training and or who need to be trained in transgender issues. I think it's the biggest conference in the world on gender issues, the Gender Odyssey Conference, every year in Seattle. And I highly recommend going there. I wish I could think of more. I'm sure like as soon as we get off of this, I'll be like, oh, those are the top 3 for now.
That's great.
One other, I should say. Definitely need to do this. TWOC, Transgender Women of Color Conference, or Collective. TWOC, Transgender Women of Color Collective. They are international in scope, and they are some seriously radical, amazing women. So check them out.
Sparkle, which is this weekend in Manchester, is great. Any of the prides, try and go to as many events that you can do, because you'll meet people, and it's all about creating your network, a community. Your network meets other people, because we've all got a lot in common, and I think strength is one thing. We've all got massive resolve and huge strength.
Absolutely.
And I like strong people, not just in a kind of muscles way, but just
bit character.
So for younger people, definitely the organisation called Mermaids. They're absolutely amazing. They hold secret retreats twice a year. They're always available for phone calls. Lady Susie Green that runs it, she's brilliant. And that's been such a strong support network for young trans people and their families as well. Like the parents and friends can go along. Aside from that, there's an organisation called All About Trans who do amazing work. They work a lot with the media. And they're kind of like, if there's anybody that can put you in touch with the right people, it is All About Trans. So I definitely recommend them as well. And finally, the last one I know of who are really good is Gendered Intelligence. So they're a group of trans people that get together and support each other. And I know that they, I've personally never been to any of their groups, but I've heard really good things about them, and they're doing great work, so them as well.
Well, I know there are a few charities out there in terms of if you are looking to have medical needs or something. I know the Jim Collins Foundation. I I've heard of them a lot, and I think I submitted an application to them. And as far as like support groups and things, you know, I think it depends on where you're located. I think if you're in Los Angeles, I know there's a lot of resources like the LGBT Center. There, that's a big one. I was at the LGBT Center at one point, and they helped me out with everything. And so, yeah, I just think it's about Google, you know, research and Google just trans support groups in your city, and really start talking to some trans people, because what you'll find out is that you'll have the similar experiences. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were saying how we, you know, we're in different shoes. You know, he hasn't walked in my shoes, I haven't walked in his shoes. But I said, for a lot of trans people, our shoes are pretty similar. Like, you don't have to just be in my shoes, because my experience will be just like another trans woman's experience when it comes to dating or when it comes to relationships or something. And so just researching and really staying connected, finding someone, a mentor or someone who can kind of help you through that process and really help you figure out everything.
So within the UK, we have lots of resources for trans people. The Mermaids Charity for Trans Kids is one that is particularly close to my heart. My girlfriend, Hannah Winterbourne, is their patron. And I've worked with them as well, and they are doing such important work. They're a charity, and they support transgender children from sort of 0 to 19, and not just the children, but also their families and siblings and so on. They also help with coming out in school. I mean, I think, you know, had I had that when I was a kid, it would have been an absolutely a lifeline. And they do great work. So that's Mermaids, and I think you can find them at mermaidscharityuk.org.uk. But if you Google Mermaids Charity, they'll come up. There's also TMSA, which is for trans males, and you can find them on Facebook. And they're also a group of trans guys who help other trans guys. And there hasn't been that historically a lot of support for trans guys, because I think we sort of tend to either live stealth, or we haven't managed to kind of club together very well historically. Whereas I think, you know, there's always been a lot more support for trans women, just because, you know, they start their own support systems. So, you know, also if you go obviously online, there's a huge trans community on YouTube, which I watched a lot of those videos when I was transitioning, because you get so much information and so much reassurance that what you're going through is normal and natural, and also it can, you know, prepare you for a lot of the surprises that you may not even have thought were going to happen to you during your medical transition, if that's what you've chosen to do. So there are lots and lots of groups, lots of charities, and it's just really, as I say, all of these things are growing online, and if you want to find them, then you certainly can.
I think for young people, the places that I've worked with are Mermaids and Gendered Intelligence, and they're pretty brilliant. You know, Gendered Intelligence is more for teenage kids, young adults, and Mermaids is beautiful for younger kids and parents. And there's some their philosophy is linking up those families with trans adults, so people are reassured. So I definitely say those two. I mean, here in Brighton, I feel like it's very trans positive, and it always has been. In terms of specific groups, there are different groups. Groups are very local, so it's gauging them, and I think you need to find the right group for you. I think there's some brilliant forums if you go online, but that can also be a bit of a minefield. I didn't have a great experience of support groups, so because 13 years ago they were just advocating living in stealth and showing you films of how to sit as a woman. So it was really archaic. So it's probably come on, and I'm probably more connected with services for younger people. And I think that now that the T's been added to LGBT groups, like the LGBT Foundation and things like that, they run events once a month. I think those groups are set up and are much more welcoming to trans people. And I feel I'm a queer person. I've lived as a gay person. I feel like it's a broader school, so I would be tempted to go for those. That wraps it up for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and to everybody that contributed their stories. Please be sure to subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show, leave a huge thumbs up, leave any comments, ask questions, and be sure to share it, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Sarah O'Connell Show coming soon.